Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys here today. And I don't know, maybe the internet will actually work today and the stream won't go out like it has been doing and leaving us abandoned. And I have had the weirdest thing. Let me tell you guys about what's been going on here, okay? So what has happened was yesterday, as I was getting ready to do the John Campea show in the morning, my stream would just not kick in. The stream would just not connect. Kept saying no bandwidth, no bandwidth, no bandwidth. So I checked speedtest.net and about 4 other speed test sites, and boom, I was getting 20 megs upload. Tons of speed for doing streaming. Tons of speed for doing streaming, right? I'm getting about 450 megs download per second, 20 megs upload. So I got really good internet service. And it just kept saying. Then I tried to upload files, and a file that would take like 15 minutes normally to upload was saying it was going to take 2.5 hours. And that was all through yesterday and into this morning. And it was just unbelievable. Like, I just couldn't get to work. I was on the phone with my internet service provider, Spectrum. They couldn't figure out what the problem is. I had never seen a problem like this before. I tried it on 3 different computers, wireless and wired, from laptops, 3 different types of browsers, restarted the routers, the modem, the computers, everything, nothing worked. So this morning I get up really, really early. It says it still doesn't work. So my internet service providing company says they're going to send over a technician, right? And I get a phone call 30 minutes before the technician shows up, says, "Do you want to cancel the appointment? Has your problem been resolved?" So I go on my computer, double check it, still not working. So I'm like, yeah. Technician shows up. I bring him up into the studio. I said, "Now watch what happens when I try to upload a file." 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, sure enough, as soon as the technician shows up, the problem goes away. So I don't know if this stream is going to last today or not. I really don't know. I'm hoping that everything's going to be fine. But hey, we'll just go with it. Hey guys, this is Open Mic. Sorry for the big long introduction. I just want to explain why we didn't have a show this morning or yesterday. At least not live. A lot of people ask me, "John, why didn't you do the Weekly Hero?" Well, I did put up an announcement on YouTube saying that there wouldn't be any shows yesterday because of the internet problem. But we're back. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. And the first live question today comes to us from Adamus, who writes, "For me, the greatest wrestler of all time has got to be Eddie Guerrero. And I think it's a shame that there hasn't been a biopic about him. He was loved by everyone and went through so much pain just to entertain us. Who would you cast?" I never take questions about who would you cast. Which actor should play X role? So I'm not going to answer that. As long as it's a talented actor, I don't care. First of all, Eddie Guerrero was one of the most gifted, talented in-ring performers of all time. He was. You talk about him, it was a really great class because there was a group of those guys. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. No one likes to talk about Chris Benoit because of what the brain damage made him do. But Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko. Most everybody's heard of Eddie Guerrero. Most everybody's heard of Chris Benoit. Not everybody's heard of Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko was kind of part of that whole crew, too. They were all friends. Dean Malenko is one of the worst mic skill guys in history. Like, he could never talk. But in the ring, he was an amazing wrestler. Just an amazing wrestler. But that whole class of guys were just remarkably good. I look, just because Eddie Guerrero was a great wrestler doesn't mean you should make a movie about him. They're like, U2's my all-time favorite band. I don't necessarily think you should make a movie about them either. So I'll disagree with you on that a little bit. But where I will agree with you, Adamus, is that he was one of the greatest. And he was a really great mixture, too, that he was not only a great wrestler, he was great on the mic too. He had great gimmicks, the whole bit. But the bottom line was he was a terrific wrestler. I'll never forget. I think it was a WrestleMania, and there were 2 heavyweight titles, right? Because they had the Raw and they had the SmackDown title. And Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit both won I believe they both won their world titles on the same WrestleMania. It was an all-time classic that nobody talks about anymore because of what happened with Chris Benoit. But still, I'll never forget that. It was one of the great moments, probably the highlight of Eddie Guerrero's career. And yeah, he was an incredible, incredible performer. All right, let's move on. Ben Rayner writes, thoughts on Baldwin exit the Joker movie? It makes me, like, a lot of people are going, for those of you who didn't hear, it got reported by one of the major trades that Alec Baldwin had been cast to be Thomas Wayne in the upcoming standalone Joker movie. Then, one day later, Alec Baldwin puts out a statement saying, I'm no longer attached to that film. So, some people are going, understandably so. Some people are asking, why so fast? Why so quick? Why did he change his mind in one day? Well, remember, he may have been attached to this a month ago. And the trade that broke it might have been the Hollywood Reporter, may have found out about it, did their fact-checking, double-checked sources, blah, 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 and then some time passes, then they confirm, okay, it's true, Alec Baldwin was cast. And so they put out a report. Remember, Warner Brothers didn't announce Alec Baldwin had been cast. The Hollywood Reporter, or might have been Variety, broke the news. But while it was true, it may have been true 4 weeks ago. And in the 4 weeks since, he probably stepped down. So it wasn't that he was, Thomas Wayne one day and then the next day he just changed his mind. It's probably a matter of that the major trade found out about it. And the major trades, unlike a lot of blogs, don't just, I heard a rumor, quick, post about it. Like, the major trades will hear about something, they'll investigate it, they'll get several sources that confirm it, they'll do all that stuff, and then they'll write their story. And that could have been weeks. It could have been weeks that took. And in that time period, he stepped down. So it could have been 2 weeks, 3 weeks period from when he accepted it to when he decided to back out of it. So it wasn't one day he accepted it and the next day he backed out, I think it's too bad. Again, you know me, put any talented actor in the role and I'm okay. I think Alec Baldwin is a really talented actor. I think it would have been a lot of fun seeing him in that movie. So I'm disappointed that he's not going to be it, but they'll get somebody else. They'll get somebody else and it'll be fine. Zach Bartron writes, do you know anything about what's going on with that Battlestar Galactica movie? Haven't heard anything recently. It's got to be on hold. I mean, it's got to be on the shelf. So years ago, there was this idea about doing a Battlestar Galactica movie. And I believe Bryan Singer, who directed the upcoming Queen movie, Bohemian Rhapsody. And of course, he directed X-Men 1, X-Men 2, and things like that. Anyway. And then he departed off that. But then just like 2 or 3 years ago, there was a new announcement. These new producers came on. We're doing a Battlestar Galactica movie. Okay, great. I'd love it. I'd love to see another incarnation, another telling of the Battlestar. The mythology of Battlestar Galactica is so amazing that I'd love to see a new version of it. Yeah. Retell the story from a slightly different perspective. Bring back Adama and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd make that movie. And then nothing. Absolutely crickets. So as far as I know, Zach, unfortunately, because I'm dying to see a big screen version of Battlestar Galactica, but as far as I know, it's not happening. Now, I don't know that it's been canceled, but at the very least, it's on the shelf. At the very least, it's been put back up on the shelf. So as soon as I hear anything, I'll be talking about it. But as far as I know, not much is happening on it at all. Let's see. Haskell 420 writes, hey, John, I'm conflicted. Oh, no. 2 marathons, August 31st through September 5th. MCU and IMAX for $8 a film, 4 daily, then an Origins Day and Team Up Day. Talking about the big MCU film marathon and film festival they're doing in IMAX theaters. Regal announced a Lord of the Rings extended version marathon at $5 each. I'm favoring Lord of the Rings as never saw it in theaters. I would go Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings films are better than the MCU. Look, I love the MCU movies, I do, but Lord of the Rings are Lord of the Rings. There's a reason all 3 of the Lord of the Rings films were nominated for Best Picture, and Lord of the Rings Return of the King won 11 Oscars. No film in history has ever won more Academy Awards than Lord of the Rings Return of the King. It's all subjective, and maybe you like the MCU movies better. That's cool. But to me, there's no question. The Lord of the Rings films are better because they're amongst the greatest films ever made, and one of the probably the second greatest trilogy of all time. So the thing is, like, all the MCU movies are more recent. So if you get an opportunity now to go and watch the Lord of the Rings films again on the big screen now, God, I'd say take it. I'd say take it. Look, there's the good thing here, Haskell, is that there is no wrong answer. It is not the wrong answer to say, I'm going to go watch some MCU films revisited on the big screen in IMAX. And it's certainly not the wrong answer to say, I'm going to go watch The Lord of the Rings re-released on the big screen again. There's no wrong answer here. It's a win, no matter what. You get to go watch the MCU films on the big screen again in IMAX? That's a win. You get to go watch the Lord of the Rings films again on the big screen? That's a win. Personally, not a lot of conflict there. Not a lot of conflict there. I'm running over to go see the Lord of the Rings films. They're just landmarks, some of the greatest films of all time. And how often you're going to get the chance to see them on the big screen. So that's what I would go for. But hey, everybody will have a different answer for that. It's all subjective. Haskell follows that up. Is the Weekly Hero tonight or tomorrow? No. Weekly Hero is on Wednesdays. There's a reason it's on Wednesdays, because I don't have any other available day. Thursday nights are booked. Friday nights, I have to keep those free for my wife, because I don't get a lot of time with my wife, you know? So Friday nights into the weekends, I keep those reserved for Ann. And so Friday night, and as a matter of fact, this Friday night, tomorrow night, is John Williams in concert at the Hollywood Bowl. It's his annual concert. Ann and I have gone every year for the past 4 years to go see John Williams. And every year we think this might be the last time he does it, so we better go. We've been saying that for 3 years now. But me, Ann's sister Olive, and her husband, my brother-in-law Stan, we're all going to go over to the Hollywood Bowl tomorrow night and watch John Williams in concert. So, no, there's not going to be any Weekly Hero this week. Unfortunately, the technical issues killed it yesterday, but it will be back. It will be. Trust me, me and Robert have already been talking. It's happened. It's just not this week's episode, unfortunately, due to technical issues, has been canceled, and I don't have any other open time to do it again, unfortunately. But thanks for asking, man. Ben Hayusa writes, if Wily Coyote is a celestial being, John, then Tom from Tom and Jerry is also a celestial being due to the amount of beatings he took and he never dies. Yeah, well, so we were talking the other day on the John Campea show about how Warner Brothers has announced they've got a Wily Coyote movie coming, which I think is awesome. I'm so excited about that. And it's going to be called Coyote versus Acme, which is perfect. That's beautiful. I love that. Okay, so anyway. One of the things I said, though, is that wouldn't it be funny if they connected it to the MCU? I was just joking, obviously. Connected to the MCU because, and they say Wily Coyote is actually a celestial, like Star-Lord's dad and the big floating skull of nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy. What if he's actually celestial because he's an immortal being? I mean, how many times have we seen the Coyote blown up, fallen off a cliff, have giant boulders fall on him, hit by trucks, blah, 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 and he's never had a scratch on him? I mean, he has a scratch on for a minute, but then 2 seconds later, he's completely healed. So he's got a Wolverine healing factor. He's completely immortal. I contend Wily Coyote is a celestial from the MCU, and they're going to cross them over. Obviously, I'm kidding, but hey, keep your eyes open for that. And yeah, Tom from Tom and Jerry has taken almost, not quite as much, but has taken almost as much of a beating as poor Wily Coyote has. Ben follows up with, Baldwin leaving Joker. Well, that sucks. Yeah, I mean, again, it sucks. It would have been really nice and fun to see him in that role, but at the same time, you know, another actor will step in. They'll get hopefully another gifted actor. Look, I'm not going to lie, I was looking forward to seeing Baldwin in there, but they will get another good actor to step in. They're not going to go out and get some, you know, talentless hack to act alongside of Robert De Niro and Joaquin Phoenix, right? So they're going to get somebody good, and it'll be good. But yeah, I'm a little bummed about it. Zach Bartron writes, asked about your favorite background moment from The Last Jedi the other day. Now I'll ask, what's your favorite from the whole franchise? Oh, I don't know, man. I would have to sit down and think about that for a while. I mean, I don't have 20 minutes to sit here right now and reflect on all the different scenes. I don't really think about the background, what's going on in the background an awful lot. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a fair question, but it's just not one that I can answer off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it for a while. So, but what about you guys watching? What are some of your favorite kind of background things going on in a Star Wars movie? Jump down to the comments section and give Zach your thoughts. Let him know what you guys think. All right. Jeff Jones writes, for Star Wars Resistance, I am super happy that they are making an animated show geared towards kids, but I hate the animation style. It reminds me of Speed Racer. I am sure I will watch it and enjoy it for what it is. Yeah, I'm very torn on Resistance. Number one, I did not like the trailer at all. I didn't like the trailer. I thought it was awful, to be honest with you. The other thing that really turned me off was the fact, now hear me out here before you jump to conclusions. One of the things that really bothered me about it was that clearly this is a children's show. Like, shows like, I'm not a big fan of Clone Wars, but Clone Wars, Rebels, they were shows that were kid-friendly and adult-friendly. You know, they were shows that could appeal to everybody. This Resistance is clearly a children's show. I mean, that's obvious from the trailer. And that's fine. That's what they're going for. They're making one for children. Fine. The thing that bothers me a little bit is that over the past number of months since they let us know that this new show was coming, Resistance, they never at once kind of clued us in or gave us a little bit of a heads up that we've got, you know, hey, a Star Wars property coming for kids. You know, we got a new Star Wars property that we're targeting at kids, for kids, and blah, blah. They never gave us that heads up. So it felt like a lot of people like me were kind of hoping to see something else that would be kid-friendly, but also adult-friendly, you know? And we were looking forward to another show that would be for us as well. And they never gave us that heads up. They just dropped this trailer that I thought was quite bad, but also clearly geared towards children. And it was like, oh, so this isn't for us. Which is fine. I just kind of wish they gave us a heads up. You know what I mean? I just kind of wish they had had the courtesy, instead of getting the entire fan base excited about a new animated venture for Star Wars and all that kind of stuff, and they got the whole fan base excited without bothering to tell us, but it's not for all of you. This one's geared more towards the kids, guys. Like, they never gave us that heads up. So this trailer hits us like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Again, I have no problem that they're doing a show for kids. That's great. I mean, why not? I mean, hey, we had Droids and the Ewoks shows before, so why not? Again, I just wish they gave us a heads up. That's all. That's my only kind of big problem with it. But hey, here's hoping it's good. And you know what? I'm undecided on the animation style. Like, at first, it's very off-putting, but at the same time, I don't know. There's something visually appealing about it to me. So I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying as far as the animation style goes, I'm a little bit torn on it, Jeff. But hey, we'll see. Maybe it'll be really high quality. Kids will love it. It'll become an important milestone for Star Wars. And here's hoping it does. Again, my only big problem with it was they kind of led us to believe that this was going to be a new Star Wars show for all of us. And clearly it's not. And I just wish they had let us know. That's all. Okay. Ben Rayner writes, what happened to Top Gun 2? I mean, I don't know. Good question. For those of you who have not heard, so Top Gun 2, also known as Top Gun Maverick, was supposed to come out in July of next year, July of 2019. And then earlier today, it got announced, nope, it's now coming out in June 2020. They pushed it off basically a full year. A full year. Now, the official explanation is that they've been shooting this thing since May, which means principal photography has got to be just about finished. I'm surprised it's not finished already. So May, June, July, August. I mean, most films don't film that long. But they said, the official explanation I read something about, they want to take advantage of new technology. They want to keep working on the film to take advantage of new technology and new planes. Okay, but you've pretty much got to be almost done shooting this movie. What? I don't know. I just kind of feel like I'm just speculating. Nothing to back this up. I'm just speculating. I got a feeling there's something else going on. Like, yeah, we've been shooting since May. We're almost done shooting, and we realized our movie sucks. And we need a lot of time for reshoots. I mean, look, maybe that's completely unfair for me to say. Again, I'm not basing that on anything. Nobody has told me that. I'm just speculating. And maybe it's unfair. Maybe it's unfair. But I can't help but wonder, just being honest with you guys, I can't help but wonder, something doesn't feel right here. Like, it feels more like you guys are now starting to see what your movie, now that we're 4 months into your shooting, you guys are starting to see what your movie's looking like, and you realized it's terrible. And now you're desperately scrambling. You bought yourself another year to try to reshoot almost everything. And again, that's just speculation, and maybe it's not fair for me. Zach Bartron follows up. Do you ever see something surpassing Jaws as the best shark movie ever made anytime? Oh, yes. Look, yeah. But look, when you're talking about look, you know the old saying, records were made to be broken. Every record gets broken. Some will break in the next year or two, some will break in 50 years. But every record is made to be broken. Will another space sci-fi movie come out, space adventure movie come out that surpasses the original Star Wars? Yeah, eventually it will. Maybe not this year, maybe not in 2 years, maybe not for another 20 or 50 years, but eventually it's going to happen. So yeah, I believe it's going to be, it's hard to top. Jaws, that original Jaws is a very high bar. It's an incredibly high bar. But all records are made to be broken. Will another shark movie eventually come along that will top Jaws? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's naive to think that it wouldn't. It's not guaranteed that it will, but eventually, anytime? Yeah, I gotta say at some point it will. Just don't hold your breath. I don't know that it's gonna be anytime soon, but at some point, like, you use the word there, Zach, anytime. That's a big word. Ever and anytime are huge words. So if you're going to put that in there, I'll say yeah. If you were to ask me, do I see another shark movie coming out in the next 5 years that'll top Jaws? Hell no. But anytime? Yeah, I got to imagine eventually it will. Dim-Sum05 writes, just came back from BlacKkKlansman, and then he follows it up with, good movie, not top 5 for me. I think the bit at the end was a little heavy-handed. Would have been perfect if it ended 6 minutes earlier. I'm going to disagree with you, Dim Sum. Like, I remember when the ending of BlacKkKlansman, I'm obviously not going to spoil it, but when the ending of BlacKkKlansman happened, I remember at first, I'm sitting there watching it and thinking, ooh, this is a little heavy. But then as it played out, I thought, you know what? Nope, this is a perfect ending to this film. Because I found that the way they ended BlacKkKlansman was a great transition from then to now. And it was kind of a, hey guys, audience, this isn't just some random things that happened 40 years ago that we don't have to worry about anymore. And it really, for me as an audience member, it really brought it home. For me, BlacKkKlansman may be my number 2 best movie of the year so far. I still think A Quiet Place is still my number 1 movie of the year. Not at box office, but best movie of the year. I still think it's A Quiet Place. But I think BlacKkKlansman may have taken the number 2 spot. I think it may have. But, you know, all film is subjective. Just because it's number 2 for me doesn't mean it's going to be number 2 for you. Like you said, Dim Sum, not in your top 5. You liked it, but not in your top 5. No problem with that. I'm just glad you enjoyed the film, man. All right. Patrick Conway writes, let's see. Favorite Jack Ryan, Baldwin, Ford, Affleck, or Pine? Oh, I got to go Ford. Harrison Ford. Because he had the best. I mean, Hunt for Red October is... That movie will always have a special place in my heart. It's the first time we had Jack Ryan on screen. It was played by Alec Baldwin at the time. Sean Connery. I still maybe think my favorite Sean Connery movie. And probably my favorite Sean Connery performance is Hunt for Red October. I love that movie. But when you're talking about Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games, I mean, those were probably my favorite Jack Ryan movies. And Harrison Ford played... And to be honest now, when I think of Jack Ryan, the face that pops into my head is Harrison Ford. Now, right or wrong, that's what happens in my head. When I think Jack Ryan, instantly I think of Harrison Ford's face. I like Ben Affleck. He did that with... why am I forgetting his name? He did that one with... this is going to kill me. Why am I freezing on this guy? Morgan Freeman. I almost had to look it up. Why did I freeze on Morgan Freeman's name? Anyway, that Ben Affleck one he did with Morgan Freeman. I like that Jack Ryan thing. The one Pine did, Kenneth Branagh directed that one that Pine was in, and I thought it was pretty good. Not right up there, though. I'm very much looking forward to the John Krasinski Amazon Jack Ryan. But yeah, man, for me, when I think Jack Ryan, my head instantly goes to Harrison Ford. So I'm going to go Harrison Ford on that. Cobra writes, with the new Predator movie coming out, I wonder, did you like Predators, Adrian Brody? Underrated if you ask me. I did like it. Actually, I talked about it the other day. I actually got a kick. It's the only, seriously, the first Predator movie and the Adrian Brody Predators are the only movies that I even think are good. Like, all the other movies that have Predator in it is actually, quite frankly, pretty bad. Hopefully Shane Black breaks that curse. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of upside to that Adrian Brody one. I thought the story was cool. I thought the whole idea about they were dropped into some kind of wildlife reserve. I loved that. I thought the Predators were cool. Had some cheesy moments, yes, absolutely. But I thought overall, I thought that Adrian Brody one was pretty good. And it doesn't hurt that I'm a big Adrian Brody fan. I think Adrian Brody's great. So yeah, I agree with you, Kobe. I do think it's a little bit underrated. Like, I still think the original Predator is clearly the best Predator movie, clearly. But yeah, Predators, yeah, I agree. I think it's underrated. Kevin Kamaki writes, what's the best net to use to catch a night fury? Oh, well, I can't remember the name of the net, but that is clearly from How to Catch a Dragon, or How to Train Your Dragon. I cannot remember the answer to the question, though. Next up, Toothless. Speaking of How to Train Your Dragon, Toothless writes, oh, no, you didn't, Kev. Referring back to Kevin saying, yeah, you know what? I am very excited about How to Train Your Dragon 3. Very excited about that, because the first two are amazing. Look, clearly, the Toy Story trilogy is the best animated trilogy ever. That's beyond dispute. But I'll tell you what. If How to Train Your Dragon can come out and be on the same level as How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, then I think you've got a very solid argument that How to Train Your Dragon becomes the number 2 best animated trilogy of all time. Even better than Cars? Shock and surprise. Yeah, better than Cars. But seriously, I honestly think that if How to Train Your Dragon 3 can be on par with How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, you got a solid case to make that it's the second best animated trilogy ever. I'd still say the Toy Story one is head and shoulders above it, but other than Toy Story, it's the standard. Those first two movies are so good. Now, I'm a little bit of a sucker for fathers and sons kind of stories that revolve around that, and that's why I love the first one. I thought the second one even took it up a notch. If this third one can be equally as good, and I'll tell you what, I love the trailer for the third one. I absolutely loved the trailer for the third one. So here's hoping, fingers crossed. All right, Jared Vester writes, hey, Mr. Campea, can you do a cutscene game review of Spider-Man PS4 when it comes out next Friday? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. Now, it'll probably take a couple of days for somebody to put up a full cutscene movie of it, and it's probably going to end up being like 12 hours long. But the moment it goes up, I will sit down and binge it and watch it all, and I will do a cutscene review movie of that. I know a lot of people are very excited for it. I don't have a PlayStation 4. Now, no, great. I don't play a lot of console games in general. Most of my gaming is done on the PC. That's how I do most of my gaming. But I've got an Xbox One, I've got a Nintendo Switch, and I got my PC. So I don't have PS4, so I'm probably not going to be playing it. But yes, I will absolutely be watching that cutscene movie, and I will absolutely do a review of it when it comes out. All right, Julius Goodwin writes, I'm binge watching CW's Flash since yesterday. It's a fantastic show. They should have used Gustin instead of Miller as the movie. No. First of all, I'm glad you're binge watching it. The first few seasons especially. I wasn't a big fan of this most recent season. I believe it was season 4 of The Flash that we just had. Wasn't a big fan of season 4, but I love the first 3 seasons, particularly the first 2 seasons. I really love, and I like, some people have a problem with season 3. I really like season 3, but whatever. Not so much season 4. I really enjoy the show. Should have used Gustin instead of Milton? No, fuck no. No. First of all, that would make no sense because the CW movie universe, or the Warner Brothers DC movie universe, is completely a separate thing from the TV universe. All right? So just get that straight. So no, right there, that makes it impossible. And you totally should not do it. It would be completely dumb of them to do. The second thing is, Ezra Miller did a great job playing that Flash. Remember, even if they cast Grant Gustin, the lines that Ezra Miller said, the story, the lines, everything that Flash said and did in Justice League would be 100% exactly the same. It just would have been a different actor saying it and doing it. It wouldn't have changed anything. And I think Ezra Miller is an excellent actor. He's a great actor. And given what the lines were for Flash to say, I thought Ezra Miller delivered them great. And no matter what you think, if you had swapped out Ezra Miller with Grant Gustin, he just would have been saying the exact same lines. It wouldn't have changed anything. Nothing else in the movie would have changed. It would have been the exact same. It just would have been Grant Gustin saying those lines and doing the exact same things instead of Ezra Miller. And I thought, considering the lines that he was given and what the actions he was given to do, I thought he was awesome. I really did. I loved his quirkiness that he brought to it. He gave us a very different Flash than what we got on TV. I think he was great. One of the things I loved in one of my absolute favorite moments in Justice League is when they're confronting Superman. Superman's just come back to life, and they're having their fight with him. And he's got like Wonder Woman by the throat in one hand. He's got Aquaman by the throat in the other hand. He's holding them both up, right? And Flash decides he's going to use his speed because he's the fastest man alive. And he starts to run around to sneak behind Superman. And Superman, in the Speed Forces. And then Ezra Miller's face. The face that Ezra Miller makes when he realizes for the first time in his life as a speedster, somebody is just as fast as him, and Superman turns and looks at him, and the look on Ezra Miller's face is worth the price of admission to that movie, man. Seriously, the way, the expression that Ezra Miller pulled on his face was, I'm getting giddy just thinking about it. I loved that moment in the movie, but also, again, I just love the way he portrayed the lines and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, look, you may prefer the Grant Gustin Flash and that Flash and the CW Flash to the movie Flash. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But the notion that they should have put Grant Gustin in that movie, it just doesn't make any sense on like 15 different levels. It just makes no sense. So, and look, I'm probably with you on this, Julius. I think I prefer the CW Flash to the movie Flash, but I like them both. But I just think Ezra did a great job portraying that Flash. You know what I mean? And you definitely, if you're keeping these as separate universes, you definitely can't, it would just cause a world of confusion if you suddenly took Grant Gustin and put him in the movie, So I'm with you that I think I prefer that Flash, but I like them both and you couldn't cross them over. Let's see. Thunder Knight writes, what are your thoughts on the original Star Trek movies as a whole, from motion picture to Nemesis? Well, let's be clear. Nemesis is not one of the original motion pictures. There's the original, then there's Next Generation movies, and then there's what do they call it, the Kelvin timeline movies? I don't even know what that's from, but the J.J. Abrams era movies, right? As far as the originals go, the originals were hit and miss, right? And they went, like every even number one was great, every odd number one was pretty bad. So, odd number, Star Trek, the motion picture, not so good. Even number film, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, awesome. Star Trek III, Search for Spock, not so good. Star Trek IV, even number, The Voyage Home, awesome. Star Trek V, the one where they find God. I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head. Not so good. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, awesome. So like when you get the original Star Trek films, even number films, awesome. Odd number films, not so good. By definition, they were hit and miss. Some of them were incredible, some of them not so good. The Next Generation movies, I never loved any of the Next Generation movies. I was a big fan of Next Generation. Like, I loved the TV Next Generation. And I liked a number of the Next Generation movies, but I to be honest, I don't think I loved any of the Next Generation movies. I liked a couple of them. I didn't love any of them. Not like I love Star Trek 2, 4, and 6. Not on that level. Like, I prefer Star Trek 2, 4, and 6 over any of the Next Generation movies. So, yeah, I don't see original motion pictures and Nemesis as the original Star Trek movies. No. There's the original, and then there's Next Generation movies, and those are two different things. And then they had one slight overlap with Generations. But the original Star Trek movies were a bit hit and miss. Even number great, odd numbers not so great. But that's just my opinion. Just one guy's opinion. All right, Jay Pinkston writes, driving an hour to see the best titled MCU sequel, Iron Man 2 in IMAX tonight. Iron Man 3 tomorrow night. Great way to kick off Labor Day weekend. I'm glad you're going. I'm glad you're going to enjoy it. I'll be honest with you. To me, Iron Man 2 is the worst MCU movie they've ever made. I don't think it's garbage. I don't think it's hot garbage, but to me, it's the worst one. Any list I do of the MCU movies, Iron Man 2 is always going to be at the bottom. That's just me. But everybody's list will look different, right? So your top 20 list will look different from my ranking all 20 MCU films list. And, your list will be different from looking at the chapboard here, from Kevin Kamaki's. And then Kevin's list will be different from the Gray Man's. And the Gray Man's will be different from Ann H. Burns. And Ann H. Burns' list will look different from Angel's, which will look different than Corey's, which will look different than Common Folk 101's. Our lists will always be different, for sure. And if you love Iron Man 2, awesome. That's great. And I'm really excited for you that you get a chance. You're right. It's a great way to start the weekend, man. Getting to revisit on IMAX films that you love, that you never thought you'd get to see on the big screen again before, premium. Just premium. Great way to start your weekend, man. All right, we move on here. Miguel Alejandro writes, John, thanks to you, I realize I'm not a true film fan. What are you talking about? I haven't seen Jaws, Godfather, Indiana Jones, Star Wars trilogy, or Lord of the Rings. Got to catch up. Look, listen, what you've seen, never let anybody tell you that you're not a film fan unless you've seen this, this, and this. No. Now, maybe you're shortchanging yourself. You're doing an injustice to yourself by not watching those films. But don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not a film fan unless you've seen this, 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 and this. Just shoo them away. Shoo them away. You should watch them because you are doing yourself a disservice. Because as a film fan, man, I'm jealous as hell that you get to watch Jaws for the first time, that you get to watch The Godfather for the first time, that you get to watch Indiana Jones and the Star Wars trilogies and the Lord of the Rings trilogies for the first time. I'm envious. I will never again, for the rest of my life, be able to watch any of those movies for the first time. I'll never be able to do it again. And you get to, and I'm super jealous. So, you are a film fan. And as a film fan, these are films you should absolutely check out, and I'm jealous that you're going to get to watch them, man. You're about to have your cinema mind just blown wide open, man. And that's a good cross-section of movies, too, from Jaws to Godfather, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars to Indiana Jones. Good cross-section of films. Do yourself a favor. You're going to love them. Make sure you watch those films, man. All right, next up. Sea Spice writes, maybe the Knights of Ren go back to the light since they were once Jedi, and one that sticks with Kylo is Matt Smith, a meaty role, and he could be a Knight of Ren. See, I have my doubts that Matt Smith is one of the Knights of Ren, because I don't know that you get a Matt Smith in to play a lackey. You know what I mean? Kylo is the master of the Knights of Ren. I don't know that you get in a Matt Smith to play his lackey. They might. They absolutely might. Also remember, the Knights of Ren were never Jedi. The Knights of Ren were never Jedi. It is implied that the Knights of Ren all came from Luke's school, right? But just because they were in his school does not mean they were Jedi yet. It just means they were being trained, but they weren't necessarily Jedi. On top of that, it's never definitively said that all of the Knights of Ren came out of Luke's school. I mean, Snoke could have been grooming and putting together the Knights of Ren for a decade, right? And then he found Kylo, and Kylo's the most powerful, and, he is the master. And Kylo made him, or Snoke made him, master of the Knights of Ren. So there's problems on two fronts. Number one, just because if they were in Luke's school, that doesn't mean they were Jedi. But number two, we don't know definitively that they were all from Luke's school. Some of them may have been recruited from Luke's school like Kylo was. Some of them may have been pre-existing Knights of Ren. Right? At least to the best of my knowledge, at any rate. So, but again, my big thing is I just have a hard time seeing them getting Matt Smith in to play a lackey to Kylo. But maybe they will. Who knows? Maybe it is a meaty role. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't be. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Sebastian writes, Sophie Turner in Dark Phoenix, love in Game of Thrones. Yeah, I love Sophie Turner in Game of Thrones. I didn't love her as Jean Grey. I didn't know that she was the right fit for that. I mean, she's awesome awesome in Game of Thrones. I don't know that she was the right fit for Jean Grey. So I'm very excited to see Dark Phoenix, but I'm a little apprehensive. Like, I'm a little nervous to see how Sophie's going to do as Jean Grey in it, but hopefully it'll all work out and she'll be great in it, as great as she is in Game of Thrones, and then there'll be nothing to worry about. But we're going to have to wait and see. All right, Ben Rayner writes, where'd Ben go? There he is. Ben Rayner writes, Matt Smith and you mean Dominic, maybe Jedi Knights? It's, no, unlikely. It's tremendously unlikely. Luke was the last Jedi until Rey. Is enough time passed that Rey has started training and completed the training of 2 adult Jedi Knights? Unlikely. Possible. I mean, anything's possible, but probably tremendously unlikely. I mean, who knows? Maybe Matt Smith and Dominic Monaghan they were also former students who survived the purge that Kylo and the Knights of Ren did on Luke's school. And they've kept training. And then maybe they come across Rey, who shares with them the ancient Jedi texts that she stole out of the tree. Maybe? But again, that's a lot of ifs and maybes. That's a lot of ifs and maybes. So I'm going to go on a limb and say I doubt that's the case. But hey, don't discount it. Anything's possible, man. Let's see what JJ has in mind. History Soup writes, Tom Ellis getting ripped for Lucifer. I haven't seen anything, but for Lucifer nude scenes, I mean, I don't know. Look, we've been talking about Lucifer coming back to Netflix. That I'm hoping, since Lucifer has always been a very mature show, like mature themes. How many, like every single episode, there's group sex jokes, more sex jokes, threesome jokes. Oh my God, the visual joke they did in the yoga studio episode is one of the funniest moments in television history, but I couldn't believe Fox aired it because it is so sexually implicit, but whatever. So will there be any nudity in it now that it's on Netflix? I think it's appropriate that there is, considering the nature of a lot of jokes, but maybe they want to keep it PG-13, the way the show has always been. We're going to have to wait and see. All right, Sea Spice. Oh, I lost Sea Spice because we had the big jump. There we go. Sea Spice writes, really hoping Holmes and Watson is good. Oh, me too, man. Look, for those of you who don't know, Holmes and Watson is a new comedy, obviously surrounding Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, but starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly from Talladega Nights, and obviously one of the greatest comedies of all time, Step Brothers. These guys are comedic gold together when they're on screen. The poster came out the other day. Normally when a poster comes out, the trailer drops like within 24 hours. So when the poster got released a number of days ago, I was expecting, okay, any minute now we're going to get the trailer, and it didn't come. So I was a little bit surprised. They've got to drop the trailer soon, though. We got to get a trailer soon. And yeah, man, you and me both. I am desperately hoping that Holmes and Watson is good. I'm very, very excited about it. Sebastian writes, why are PLFs not included in total box office? To be honest with you, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what PLFs are. Sorry about that, man. Patrick Conway writes, I hope Karen moves full-time over to The Punisher. Oh, the character. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why she has to be on one and not the other. I mean, if she's got a big role on Punisher, great, but I don't know why that should exclude her from also having a role in Daredevil or also having a role in any of the other shows. Now, if what you're saying is you hope to see more of her on Punisher than what we had last time, and by the way, I thought they had the perfect amount of her last time, I really did. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more of her there too. So if you're saying you want to see more of her, then I'm with you. I don't know that she has to be exclusively on Punisher, though. I kind of like seeing her jump around the different shows. But let's see what they got in mind for us. Dylan Trost writes, will Rey versus Kylo be the climactic duel of Episode 9? I think that's a safe bet. But then again, they've done so many things in this Star Wars series to throw us curveballs. Look, to me, this whole new series of films has ultimately been building up to a final conflict, big battle, epic finale between Rey and Kylo. That's, to me, is what this has been building up to. Whether or not they throw us a curveball, like Luke is still alive and the final climactic battle is going to be Luke and Kylo, or something else, maybe. And I'm open to that. I'm open to them throwing us curveballs. That's fine. But as of right now, Dylan, I would guess that is what they're building up for. Movie Paradise writes, thoughts on The Lion in Winter, 1968. It's been remade like 18 times. Hold on a second. I'm drawing a blank on... the first time I watched The Lion in Winter was because I had never seen it, but a buddy of mine got one of the lead roles in a stage performance of Lion in Winter. And of course, it was Peter O'Toole. How was it? So anyways, Peter O'Toole, Katharine Hepburn, and my buddy was playing the Peter O'Toole role. And that was the first time I went to go check it out. And I liked the play, so that's what made me think, I got to go watch that movie. Because this is years and years and years and years and years ago, long before I had ever even thought about moving to LA and I was still living in Canada. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Anthony Hopkins, obviously. I thought there was one other guy. Who was I thinking of? Timothy Dalton's in it too, but that's not who I was thinking of. I was thinking of somebody else that I was clearly wrong about. But it's the right movie. Yeah, I thought it was great. And it's been remade a couple of times in different types of ways. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Okay, next up comes to us from Haskell 420 writes, John, it's like bringing your car taught a mechanic when your engine makes noises or acts up. Arrive and all's okay. Let me try this one more time, Haskell, because I don't know what it is you're saying, my brother. John, it's like bringing your car taught a mechanic, when the engine noise or acts up, arrive and it's all okay. Oh, I see you're saying, John, it's like bringing your car to the mechanic, not taught a mechanic. It's like bringing your car to the mechanic when you're talking about my internet speeds. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Cars had problem all week. You pull into the bay at the mechanics and the problem stops. It's like, oh my God. And that's what happened. The technician came in today. I'm like, look what my internet's doing. And it worked perfectly fine. Whatever, you knew it was going to happen. Let's see. Jake C. writes, if Aquaman hits big, would you still reboot DC? Oh yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely still reboot DC. Look, and just for the record, I do not think they're rebooting DC. I think they should. I think that gives them the best chance for success. And if Aquaman, that's a big if. That's a huge if. I think Aquaman's going to be a good movie. And I think it can make money. But let's be honest, it's not going to be an $800 million film, not coming off of Justice League. I think $500 million is within reach. I think Aquaman can make $500 million. At which case, it will have made a nice little profit for Warner Bros. And DC. And hopefully it's going to be as good as we're all thinking it can be. Look, I think Jason Momoa is a great Aquaman. I think James Wan is a great director. So my hopes are actually pretty high for Aquaman. But I wouldn't say my expectations are very high for how it's going to do at the box office, regardless of how good it is, just because we've seen a certain trend in the DC films. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's a massive, massive if. But yes, even if that movie makes money, I still think the best thing for them to do is to reboot. I just think that puts them in the best position to succeed. And all we want is for successful comic book movies, and I think the best way for them to move forward is to reboot, but I don't think they're going to. Let's be clear about that. I do not think they're going to reboot. Let's see. Blake Carson writes, hope your ice cream was fun and fulfilling and filling. Oh, yes, I had ice cream yesterday. I did. Ann and I, we went to BJ's, and BJ's has a Pizookie, but they have this thing called monkey bread Pizookie, where it's like Cinnabon stuff with vanilla ice cream on top. Oh, my God, it's so good. Oh, my friends, it's so good. If you've never had BJ's monkey bread Pizookie, go to a BJ's near you and ask for the monkey bread Pizookie and then thank me later because it's awesome. Jake the Human writes, finally saw A Quiet Place last night. Loved it. I'm glad you had a chance to check that out, man. Yeah, but like I said, to me, we've had many, many really good films this year. But for me, Quiet Place is still the best movie of the year. Nothing else has really, I'm not going to say nothing else has come close, For me, BlacKkKlansman gets within reach, but it's still pretty clear to me that A Quiet Place is the best movie of the year so far. We got a lot of great movies still coming out later this year, but right now for me, it's still the best, and I'm glad you had a chance to see it, Jake. Trevor Johnson writes, surprised on the constraint in budget for Jurassic World 2, only 170 million. Just 20 million more than Jurassic World 1. They didn't let the first films, a $1.6 billion budget, let them go crazy. Oh, no, should you? And let's make no mistake, 170 million is still ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Absolutely a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a movie. The fact that they spent 20 more million on a film that already had a $150 million budget is kind of crazy. And I think they knew that this one wasn't going to hit 1.6 billion. I think they understood it had a good chance of hitting $1 billion. What did it come in at? Like 1.1 billion? Hold on a second. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, box office. It made 1.2 billion, which is great. I mean, that's huge. It's a big profit, but I don't know that any movie that spends $170 million on its budget showed any constraint. I don't know that they showed any constraint at $170 million. That's just my thought, though. Roy L. writes, hey, John, Sneakers is on Amazon Prime. Oh, that's awesome. I got to watch that again. You know, I don't think Anne's ever seen Sneakers. Ben Kingsley, Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix. It's such a great movie. James Earl Jones. It's such a great movie. If you guys have never seen Sneakers, it's incredible. David Statham's in it. Watch Sneakers. If it's on Amazon Prime, and if you have Amazon Prime, book some time aside and watch that movie. It's seriously one of my favorite movies to watch. I'd say, I'm not going to say my top 20 films of all time, but if I were to make a list of like my top 30 films that's just fun to sit down and watch, I'd say Sneakers has to be on that list. It's so good. Make sure you watch it. Let's see. Give Luigi a ring. I love that name. I don't know what it means, but I love it. Just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much. Give Luigi a ring. Alex Paredes writes, Feige receiving Producers Guild of America Award. Oh, I don't know what we're talking about. Hold on a second here. Kevin Feige, PGA. Let me see what's this is all about. In the Hollywood Reporter, Kevin Feige is going to receive the 2019 Producers Guild of America David O. Selznick Achievement Award. Is that like a Lifetime Achievement Award? Which is pretty awesome if it is. Let me just check here. Marvel Studio President Kevin Feige will be honored by the Producers Guild of America, which will present him with its 2019 David O. Selznick Achievement Award, recognizing the producer's body of work in motion pictures. Feige will receive the award at the 30th Annual Producers Guild Awards on January 19th at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. That's awesome. I mean, look, when you look at what it is he has put together, the MCU, I mean, is one of the biggest hallmarks in the history of cinema, what he was able to achieve with that. 20 films in. Gobs amount of money. And still going strong. It's amazing, and I think it's an award well-deserved. Thanks for pointing that out, Alex. I appreciate that. Trevor Johnson writes, I loved intro scene to Rhodey in Iron Man 2. His line sums up your point on the audience being smart enough for recasting. Look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on. That's exactly. I loved that. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, maybe haven't seen Iron Man 2, and I talk about this all the time. You know, you can't change actors. It'll confuse the audience. I always tell them, no, you won't. It's fine. You can change actors. There'll be a moment of unsettledness. Is it, whoa, I'm used to seeing somebody else as that character. And then 15 seconds later, your mind adjusts. It's like, oh, this is that character now. And that is a great example of that, Trevor, is when we went from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle as Rhodey. And it's great. One of the best things, clearly the best thing about Iron Man 2, is the first scene that we have Don Cheadle as Rhodey, when we had just seen Terrence Howard as Rhodey in the last Iron Man, and the first line he says, which is clearly a wink to the audience, look, it's me, I'm here, deal with it, let's move on. It was not just Rhodey saying something to Tony, It was Don Cheadle saying that to the audience. Look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on. And from that moment on, Don Cheadle has been Rhodey. Both on screen and in our heads. Don Cheadle's now Rhodey. So that is a great example of how, like, and everybody thinks changing an actor is an apocalypse. No, it's not. Changing an actor's fine. You'll get over it. Look, Terrence Howard's a great actor. And I thought he was great as Rhodey in the first Iron Man. I thought he was fantastic. But they changed actors. Okay. And they got another great actor in Don Cheadle. And he's done great too. And everything's fine. The sky didn't fall. Everything was fine. So that's a great example, Trevor. Let's see. Hardy Buck 4 writes, John, the critics are on sugar dust because I saw Happytime Murders last night and my jaw hurts from the laughing. It's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, look, it was going up. The first time I looked, Happytime Murders had a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. And now it is sitting at, I think it's gone up. Nope, it's still at 22 because I think it started 22, went up to about like 25, went back down to 22. So 39 critics like it, 139 critics don't like it. Which reminds me, I just got my invitation from Rotten Tomatoes asking me to become one of the Rotten Tomatoes film critics. I think I'm going to do it. Should be fun. Anyway, yeah, honestly, look, lots of movies I see that I like that I can understand why other people wouldn't. Lots of movies I see that I dislike, but I can understand why people would. I'm telling you, Happytime Murders is one of those films that I don't get it, why people don't like it. I mean, it's all subjective. I totally accept that there are people who don't like it. I totally accept that. That's great. All films subjective, no problem. But it's one that makes me scratch my head because I find that movie to be freaking hilarious. So I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, Hardy, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Cameron W. writes, Episode 7, too classic, 8, too radical, JJ, pressure's on. I mean, look, what you got to do is ignore all the noise. If you're a filmmaker, you've got to ignore the noise. Because, look, I've talked about this before. There's this radical fallacy out there that people say, the fans want this. Never listen to anybody who says, the fans want this. Because, no, they don't. You don't speak for all the fans. You speak for a certain segment of fans that happen to agree with you. But there's a lot of people who don't agree with you. Nobody speaks for all the fans. The fans have different opinions. Fans are divided on opinions. On everything. On every movie. And everything. Nobody speaks for the fans. Nobody should ever say, the fans want... When somebody says, the fans want, what they're really saying is, I want. That's what they're really saying. And I really just think, look, you have to make your own assessments and make the movie you think you should make. That's all an artist can do. And that's what I think JJ should do. And you're right, though, the pressure is on. There's absolutely no doubt about that. The pressure's on. I've only got like a few minutes left here, guys. So I'm going to rush through the next couple of questions because I want to try not to leave many questions to have to get answered on a companion video. Let's see here. Okay. Shane Caravan writes. What does Shane write? Just finished God of War. Great game. Did you see the hidden ending? Many missed it apparently. May not have been what you watched. Oh, I saw the ending. I saw the ending. And I thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I especially liked the little ending at the end. I thought the little ending at the end was fantastic and really well done. And I liked what they did with it. I'm not going to say what it was. Let's just say it's a revelation about the kid. There's a revelation about the kid at the end of God of War that is really pretty cool. And you should check it out if you get a chance. Marie Seifring writes, best George Clooney film, Good Night and Good Luck, Michael Clayton, The Ides of March, Monuments Men, or another I haven't named. I enjoy them all. Well, obviously it's Batman and Robin. No, I'm just kidding. No, the first one on your list, Good Night and Good Luck. Good Night and Good Luck. I mean, I'm a bigger fan than I think a lot of other people of Ocean's 11. I love Ocean's 11. I just love it. I think it's great. Good Night and Good Luck, I think, is his best film. That is the best film that he's done. Michael Clayton's great. Ides of March that he did with Ryan Gosling is also really good. That's an underappreciated one. Ides of March. I like that one. Monuments Men was a little hit and miss, but for me, it's good night and good luck. Marie follows it up. Clooney, better actor, director, or producer? I'm going to say I think he's a better director than he is an actor. I think he's a great actor. I do. But I think he's got a really good eye as a director. And I think he's an even better director than he is an actor. All right, let's see here. David Hendry writes, with the amount of hate that filmmakers and actors get from so-called fans, like with The Last Jedi, do you think that movie fandom has become some toxic? I can't remember when it was ever this bad. It has become worse. But, look, I always say this. Whether you're a sports fan, I've said this about sports fans, but it totally applies to movie fans as well. Let's say you're a football fan. You buy a ticket to go to the game. Guess what? You have a right to cheer and you have a right to boo. That's your prerogative as a fan. You have a right to cheer and a right to boo. Like whenever somebody says, you shouldn't boo a person, hey, listen, if you're a pro football player and I'm a football fan and I've bought my ticket to come to the game, I've got a right to cheer and I've got a right to boo. Now, there are limitations. Yeah, you got a right to boo, but you shouldn't start yelling things about the guy's mother at him. You shouldn't throw things at him. You shouldn't do that. Like, there's crossing a line. But in general, you have a right to cheer and you have a right to boo. I think in film fandom, you're a film fan, you invest your time and money into watching these movies, then guess what? You have a right to cheer and you got a right to boo. If you disliked, Ready Player One, you have a right to get online and say, I really disliked Ready Player One. I thought the movie was terrible. You got a right to say that. And you should say that. That's what film fandom is. People who cheer, people who are boo, and we're all fans together. But, like in sports, where there are and should be some limitations, you shouldn't talk about the person's mother, you shouldn't throw things at them. In film fandom, there is also a line that, unfortunately, a lot of people cross. Bringing up people's ethnicity, bringing up people's race, bringing up people's sexual orientation, bringing up people's mothers, personally attacking individuals instead of just complaining about the movie itself, which we have every right to complain about a movie, but then going after a person for the race, like what poor Kelly Marie Tran had to put up with. Whether you're going after somebody for whatever, there are lines that we're seeing getting crossed now more than ever before. And unfortunately, there are assholes out there that are emboldened right now because of where our society is at the moment. I'm not gonna get political, but saying where our society is right now, people who are assholes today feel more emboldened to display their assholery and to say racist and sexist and awful, terrible things. They feel emboldened to do that now. But I believe in the human race. Maybe I shouldn't, but I believe in the human race. I believe common sense will ultimately prevail. And it is pretty bad right now, but I also see little glimpses of it getting better. So here's keeping our fingers crossed, David, that we'll see a healthier, better fandom as we move forward. Fingers crossed. All right, Joel Morford writes, what's the better vampire movie from the 80s, Fright Night or Lost Boys? Look, I like the original Fright Night. I do. I like it. But I'll never understand the cult classic position it has. Like, it is really positioned as an all-time cult classic. And I like the original Fright Night. I do. Lost Boys, though, will always be classic. People are strange when you're restrained. Like, just that was a perfect use of that song in that movie, by the way. I love Lost Boys. To me, Lost Boys all the way. All right. Last couple of questions here. Danzig 1979 writes, hey, John, do you recall the 1977 CBS Spider-Man show? I vaguely remember some old rerun that I watched play at some point. But I remember it looking ridiculous. You know where I saw a lot of the footage? When James Cameron was looking at doing a Spider-Man movie. And he used a bunch of footage from that old CBS Spider-Man thing as reference stuff. It was actually pretty funny. But yeah, I vaguely recall that. CJ Adams writes, does Brolin get enough credit for Thanos' portrayal? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Because I wasn't there on set. You know? I don't know how much of what I saw was him, how much of what I saw was something else. I will say this. I think Brolin gets a lot of credit. I mean, I hear a lot of people giving him a lot of credit. So I don't know about saying that he doesn't get enough because, honestly, I hear him getting a lot of credit. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Jewish Singer 613 writes, did you hear about the new DreamWorks indoor-themed water park opening at the Meadowlands in spring of 2019? I have not, but that sounds awesome, man. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't read anything about it. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to look up something as soon as the show's done. And the final question today, as we wrap up today's open mic, comes to us from Patrick Conway. Can you believe that the internet actually held up? Yay! Writes, did you see Stephen Peggy's Last Dance from Boss Logic? No, I haven't. First of all, Boss Logic. I'm telling you what, at some point, I'm going to have him in for an interview. At some point. And if you guys know Boss Logic, if you follow him on Twitter, he follows you want to let him know this, fine. At some point, I got to get that guy in on the John Campea show. Even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes, just to sit down and talk about this guy's brilliance. This guy is brilliant. Not just because he's a great artist. There are great artists out there. Boss Logic is a great artist. But his brilliance goes beyond how well he draws and goes to what he imagines drawing. When you look at a lot of his art, man, it's not just that he executes the art great, which is impressive enough on its own. It's what he imagines to create in the first place. And Boss Logic has just become like a staple in our fan community, right? I've never met the man. I don't know him. I don't know. I think he tweeted to my wife once. I'm pretty sure. But at some point, I have got to get Boss Logic in just to sit down for I don't care if he wants to come in for a half hour. I don't care if he wants to come in for 5 minutes. I got to sit down and just talk to this guy just about what's it like being that frigging big of a genius. Like, seriously. What's it like living as a genius? I'd love to talk to him about that sometime. It looks like a couple more just got squeezed in here at the last second, so let me just answer these really, really quick. Mr. 1895 Cowboy writes, have you seen the trailer for Outlaw King? Yeah, I've been asked that question about 40 times. I have. I thought it was okay. Looks a little bit like a poor man's Braveheart, but I love Chris Pine. But I'm always pessimistic about any Netflix original film because for the most part, they usually suck. But well, hey, fingers crossed, we'll have to wait and see. And last one comes to us from Tacky75 writes, every time you say, I don't care which actor plays X role, I try to imagine Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones. I mean, a lot of people forget Indiana Jones was supposed to be Tom Selleck. George Lucas had picked Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was going to do it. But Tom Selleck also had this new little TV show coming out called Magnum P.I., that was going to conflict with the shooting schedules, and he wasn't able to get time away from it, and he had to pass on playing Indiana Jones. So he was, I've worked with this Harrison Ford guy before, and they went and got Harrison Ford to play it, and the rest is history. And I'd say it's worked out pretty well for both Tom Selleck and for Harrison Ford. I mean, Magnum P.I. is an all-time iconic TV show, and obviously, other than being Han Solo, he's best known for being Indiana Jones. So I'd say it worked out pretty well for everybody. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, thanks for your patience over the last couple days as I've been struggling with some internet issues. It looks like maybe everything is up and running full throttle again. Don't forget, guys, I'll be back again tomorrow morning, if everything holds up, with the John Campea Show in the morning. We got a couple of days of news to get caught up on. Make sure you join me then. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.